What's up, Reddit? We had a lot of fun doing this last time, so I thought I'd do another AMA. So hit me with your questions.
I watch more NASCAR than IndyCar. Have you ever considered NASCAR?
I definitely want to race some NASCAR stuff. IndyCar has always been more my passion growing up, but I love everything. So I hope one day I get an opportunity in a stock car. Obviously, we have that part of our team, so I'm just waiting for the right moment in the future to hopefully have a run in one of those cars.
How much comfort padding do you guys have in your helmets? Do some guys have more than others?
When it comes to our helmets, there's a lot of standardized foam. So like the impact foam in the interior is standardized to a certain safety rating. But then the comfort foam is, it's kind of subjective to the user. So there are guys that run, a lot more. There's guys that take some out, especially around the ear areas is where people get most sensitive. That's where I've tuned mine up a lot. So when you have your earbuds in, they're molded to your ears, but you still get a lot of pressure. So just trying to relieve that is probably the number one thing that people try and help with the helmet for a 2-3 hour race. So yeah, it really just depends on the person, on how much you want or don't want.
What do you think about international expansion of the series, i.e. Europe?
I would love to go to tracks outside of the United States. I think the United States, makes sense for us with our partners. A lot of the partners within the teams are heavily U.S. based. We are a U.S. based series, so it makes sense that we're mostly domestic. But I grew up watching races at Surfers Paradise. When they raced in Japan. I obviously got to race in Brazil a couple times myself, but watched those races. And then even when they were racing in Europe as well, like the United Kingdom. I loved seeing that. So yeah, I would love an opportunity. I would go race at Spa. I'd go race at Suzuka, Surfers Paradise if we could again. So I'd be up for these, international events.
Favorite race day snack?
Favorite race day snack? I don't know. I'm normally eating. I'll tell you, I'm really bad about over consuming the Penske snacks. Whenever we get like fresh cookies, I eat way too many of those on the weekend. I'll even eat them like throughout the weekend, not just after the race. So if we get some brownies or chocolate chip cookies, that's probably what I'm overindulging in. I don't know that there's one specific thing I eat that's maybe on a preparation side or a healthy side. It just depends on what I have available on the weekend. So I don't have anything specific.
Would you like to race in WEC and IMSA with Porsche Penske hypercar program?
Yeah, the new Porsche alliance with Team Penske is very exciting. I know there's a lot of people that were thrilled to see that partnership back. And it's expanded. It's not just the United States. They're going to be doing a global effort. I'd love the opportunity to, represent Porsche one day and, just be on the world stage with Team Penske. So I don't know if that opportunity will come about, but very excited for the partnership. I think they're going to have a very successful campaign together and, rooting them on either way.
Would you support your child if he or she wants to become a race car driver?
If my kid wants to race, I'll be very happy for them and support them. I don't want that to be the first thing that they, think of when they, think of the future or think about competition. Like I want to expose my children to, all forms of sport and not just sports, but, whatever activities they want to, find interest in. If it's, arts and if it's music, whatever it is, whatever they're passionate about, is what I want them to pursue. I don't want them to feel pressured to do anything specific, but they'll definitely have an opportunity to compete in motorsports if that's what they gravitate towards.
Have you ever visited Denmark, and can you speak Danish?
I have visited Denmark many times. I'm half Danish. My mom is from Lolland, and I've been there probably 10 plus times. I think the last time we were there was in 2018. My wife, my sister, and my mom and me went over there and got to see a lot of family. I don't speak a lot of Danish, unfortunately. I didn't grow up speaking it in the house, which was probably a mistake. I think if I was to go back in time, I know my mom feels this way too. We probably would have had it where I spoke Danish in the house, and then going to school I'd speak English. That's the best way to really teach kids 2 languages growing up. So I know a little bit to get by, but not a lot. Mangatak for the question.
Was that
It means many thanks. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
You've been switching liveries a few times last season, and perhaps for this season too. What was your favorite?
What was my favorite livery last season?
Well, let's do last season and then.
Yeah, going forward. I mean, last season, I like my Hitachi livery. You know, I've enjoyed being able to represent Hitachi. I remember being in the team in 2017 and watching Elio represent that car, and I always thought it was such a cool partnership, and I wanted to drive that car one day. So now having, you know, had the privilege of driving it for the last 4 years, to me, when I see that car, I think of my career. So that's why I enjoy that livery the most. But going forward for 2022, I'm really excited about driving the PPG car. I got the opportunity for that for my first 4 years at Penske. Then Scott McLaughlin got to run it last year. I think the updated livery on the IndyCar side is my favorite part about it. They've got sort of the brush strokes of the multicolors, which I've always wanted to see on an IndyCar. So I was really jealous that Scott got to drive that last year. But now I have the opportunity to get back in it. So I think bringing that back in our stable is my favorite favorite thing going forward for this next season.
Do you miss Coda, Houston, or any of the other tracks removed from the schedule?
Coda was okay. I mean, it's not a great track. It doesn't have a ton of character. It's got tons of runoff. So I don't know that I miss it. Houston, I think the old Houston would have been more fun than the one I got to drive on. You know, ours was just way too Mickey Mouse in a parking lot. So I didn't like the updated version of Houston. Some other tracks, you know, Watkins Glen is probably the number one track that jumps out to me that I'd love to go back to. That was a really great, you know, track for us. It's obviously iconic. It's, you know, no room for error, which is basically how you want it as a race car driver. So Watkins would be at the top of my list. Nope, you don't like it?
Milwaukee.
Oh, well, of course, Milwaukee. I wasn't saying like only.
I would pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee would be very high on my list as well. That's actually probably ahead of Watkins Glen. I was just thinking road courses, but.
You're a short oval guy anyway.
The what?
I said you're a short oval guy anyway.
I am a short oval guy. Add them up, stack them up, stack up the short ovals.
Let's get all the short ovals.
Yep.
Let's go to Bristol.
Oh gosh, I would do it. Bristol would be great.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. It's not possible. I don't think.
With the dirt.
Yeah.
With the dirt, yeah, exactly. Throw on some rain tires. It'll be fine.
Who do you think will get their first IndyCar win this season? Answer correctly.
Who do I think will get? Well, who do we have? Oh wait, okay. So not just rookies.
No, just whoever.
Yeah, just in general.
First IndyCar win.
Okay.
And I'm gonna read it again just so we don't have that bit of exchange.
No, it's good. It's because now we're clarifying it, right?
Okay.
You can have it as that. Okay. I'm gonna say if it's everybody and not just rookie class, probably. I think Jack Harvey is definitely due. He's been very close, super fast. Like he has qualified front row multiple times and just hasn't panned out. So I think Jack's high on the list to get his first win. If it's not this year, then I don't know. It's coming soon at some point.
Marmite or Vegemite, or if that's a bit obscure, smooth or chunky peanut butter.
Yeah, I don't know Marmite or I know Vegemite. Marmite's one?
Marmite's the British version.
Oh, okay. Well, both of those sound disgusting. Sorry, it's not my wheelhouse. The other one's tough. I think I'd choose smooth, but I have nothing against chunky peanut butter. Like I like both of them. I'd choose smooth though. Racing
in Europe versus America, compare.
You know, they're very similar, I think. How's the best way to put this? You know, when I was growing up and I was, you know, very low on the junior formula ladder, I think Europe had more depth to the field, particularly at the time that I was getting into it. You know, in 2007, 2008, the U.S. junior formula fields were slightly, I don't know the right way to put it. They were scaled back. So the top talent was good. Like the top 5 of every field was very strong, but you didn't have 25 or 30 really good people. Whereas in Europe, you would have much stronger depth. You know, I think the top 5 across the board were very similar, but you'd have 25 or 30 really good people in a field versus just 5 or 10 in America. So if you wanted that extreme depth of talent, then going to Europe was a lot better. Nowadays, it's become more balanced because we have healthier ladder series in the United States. So I don't think it's totally different. What is different though is you get outside your comfort zone. So as an American to compete in Europe, it's foreign to me. It's different. Nothing is comfortable when you're young. So just having that challenge, I think, elevates your game and helps you grow as a driver and individual. And that's really the benefit. And you can get that both ways. Someone coming from Europe to America get the exact same effect.
How does the current car handle compared with when you first started in IndyCar? I'm interested to know how the car has evolved over the past decade and how your driving style has evolved to match that.
So when I first got into IndyCar in 2012, it was a very stable race car, pretty straightforward, very easy car to drive. Tons of rear security for the most part. Lacked a lot of rotation. Some of that's just the weight distribution of the car. Like pure mid-corner rotation was lacking, but it was a very stable, easy car to drive. You kind of, I would say just hustle the race car. You didn't have to drive it, very diamond in the corner. You could flow a lot of entry speed, have these really nice rounded curves to your speed trace. As the car evolved, it became, on the Chevy side, it was even easier to drive when we had the Aero Kit era. It was tons of downforce. It was very stable. It was very friendly. It wasn't pitch sensitive. Super nice car to drive. So it just got easier. And then as we went to 2018, we got the universal Aero Kit. The cars just became more destabilized. So the entries became more difficult for everybody. You were kind of backing the car in on brake zones. And then that got even worse when we put on the aero screen. So we've just destabilized the car more and more over the years. And that's kind of what we've been fighting. I think a lot of teams have been fighting how to stabilize the car while keeping the front working. And that's what we work on today, 2022. It's just about, trying to make the car as stable as possible without killing front grip.
If you could make one change to Indy cars, the car itself, what would it be and why?
Well, right now, one change of the IndyCar would be more power, clearly. But that's coming. It's on the list. We're going to add more power. Other than that, it's a really good car to drive. The tire is excellent. Firestone has a really friendly tire, which you can just push on. That's what drivers want. It's just a a tire that you can just race pretty aggressively. It just, puts it down to the competition then to maximize performance across a race distance. So yeah, just more power at this point.
These days, you see a lot more non-American drivers entering IndyCar. Is there something they do a lot more different than American drivers? Something in their driving style, perhaps?
I mean, I think IndyCar's always had, if you look at at least across the last 30, 40 years collectively, you've always had a good mix of international drivers. And certainly over the last 15 years, you've had a great mix of international drivers in IndyCar competition. I think that's because it's the highest level of open wheel racing outside of Formula One. Like you have basically F1 being the global marketplace. Obviously, it's more manufacturers type championship, and then IndyCar, which I would say is the same level, but it's more of a driver's championship because it's a spec car. The teams are a lot more close with parity, but it's more domestic, and it'll be primarily the United States. So, that attracts drivers from all over the place that want to race at the top level of open wheel racing. I don't think, there's really a big difference in driving style between, American open wheelers that grew up in that background versus European open wheelers. There's sometimes more aggression. People that come over from Europe are just a bit more aggressive, and they have to learn that, specifically on an oval, you can only take that so far, just because the margin for error is not very high. So that's probably the only difference, I would say.
Who would win if IndyCar was a championship of driving the car in reverse?
Probably Will Power, just because he's crazy, and racing in reverse would be crazy.
What was it like to film and act in the infamous milk ad for the 2014 IndyCar?
Look, it's a long story with this milk ad. First off, I am not the person in that suit. Like, I think a lot of people think that's me. I had no idea that was going to be in the piece. I was also sold on this being just like Gladiator. Like, literally the director producer was like, this is going to look, he said, do you like the movie Gladiator? And I was like, absolutely. It's one of my favorite movies. Like, Russell Crowe, amazing, great story, like, loved it. He's like, well, you're in luck, because this is going to look just like Gladiator. That's what he told me. He said this was going to be exactly like Gladiator. Sounded great. So I filmed all my bits. Some of my bits were like kind of a little bit weird and abstract, but I'm like, if it's going to look like Gladiator, then awesome. And then the piece comes out, and I didn't even hear about it. I didn't even know what it looked like till after the 500 when it aired. And then I went and saw it. Not like Gladiator at all. So yeah, it was a bit weird, but it happened. Now it's a story.
If you weren't a race car driver, what would you do as a job?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I think I'd be in financials to some level. Like, really, I've always been interested in it. An advisor, a planner, a broker. I don't know what I'd be doing in the financial sector, but probably something in that field. I've just always found it pretty fascinating. And, even today, I sort of keep tabs on it. I look into that world a little bit. But racing is, my love. Maybe I'd be doing something in racing that's not driving. I have no idea, but hopefully I can keep the driving up for many more years.
Scott Dixon recently compared Indy cars to junior Formula cars. I know you and others have expressed concern about the increased weight in the new engine package. Besides being lighter, what other changes would you love to see for the cars going forward?
Well, I think Scott's comments, he didn't mean, it's truly a junior Formula car. It's not. I mean, it's a very robust open wheel car. I think he just doesn't want to see the cars get too heavy. And I don't either. I think that's, where it's trending with this new engine package and the electrical system that they're going to be putting into the car too. So yeah, we just don't want to see the car get too heavy. We want it to be difficult to drive, a lot of horsepower, minimal downforce, and with minimal downforce is going to make a slower car. So, Formula One right now has an incredible amount of downforce, and we don't want that because we want the racing product to be really good. You don't want all the, disruptions that you get from the aero effect. So it's not that, it's low downforce, high horsepower, and reasonable weight. I'm not going to say low weight because, obviously with cost constraints, you can only get the car so light, but you can also not allow it to get too heavy. And right now we're probably getting on the heavy side, and we just want to see that stay in the middle.
Are you a fan of Nashville hot chicken, and how much would you eat before a race?
I do like hot chicken. Nashville has some great spots. I would not eat it before a race. That's a terrible idea. Even after a race is kind of risky, I would save that for a day when you're at home and you don't have anything to do.
When was the last time you shotgunned a beer?
I don't even know. I don't know that I have shotgunned a beer. I don't think I have.
I'm quite confident you have not.
Yep.
Which track do you hate the most?
I don't hate any track. I don't like that 500.
Which track do you hate the most?
I don't hate any tracks that we go to. I really don't. I like everywhere, and I'm not saying that to, be in the middle. They're all challenging. They're all different. It's nice to, go from a road course and have that mentality and then have to 180 your thought process and driving style when you go to a super speedway. It's just, they're totally different week to week, and I love that about IndyCar.
If Penske let you do it, and you had an available cup ride, would you do the doubleheader at the IMS road course in July?
100%. Yes. That's it.
Everybody asks about celebration after victories or bouncing back from a disappointing race. But what's your mindset after a mediocre race? No disasters, all went to plan, but just not a great day. Do you just move on hoping to do better? Are you too hard on yourself? What's the champion approach?
Go smash the McDonald's. Get over it. Go to the next one.
That's actually fucking accurate.
That's literally what I do.
Literally what he does. Or you can weed some Waffle House in there once in a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, you don't like McDonald's? Yeah, go find what you like. Get Wendy's. I don't care. Just go smash some bad junk food and get over it and go to the next one.
Do you have a burner Twitter account to follow stuff off of your personal account?
I do. It's at 12 Wheel Power.
Who do you hate running behind?
For me, it's a teammate, just because, there's always that possibility that something could go wrong. I don't know that you really think about that. It's not that I'm thinking about that. It's just, the difficulty level kind of, or that at least your alertness goes up a lot. When it's someone else, it's a little less pressure, but it doesn't really matter.
If you had to switch teams right now, which team and car number would you pick? And it doesn't have to be in IndyCar.
If I had to switch teams
It
right
doesn't have
now?
to be in IndyCar.
Okay, all right. Well,
You have to switch.
I have to switch teams. Yeah.
And car number.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try and go out of, outside of what we compete in. I'm gonna take Hamilton's Mercedes. I don't know. I mean, that sounds like a good choice. I don't know what his car number is. I'll take his car number too. 33?
40.
Faux. Give me faux mo.
Favorite road car to drive?
I mean, I like this car. I don't know if you can see this. This Camaro ZL11LE. It's really cool. To me, it's like a stock car in a good way. Like, it just sounds like a race car, drives like a race car, it smells like a race car. Definitely why it was built. You take it to the track and have fun with it.
It does smell like a race car. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite win?
My favorite win? I mean, I still love our first win. Or I should say my first win. It was with, what was our name? CFH Racing? Yeah, it was CFH Racing in 2015. It was a good day. Winning an IndyCar race is hard. And I'll remember that very first win for a long time.
Recently saw the onboard of the Charlotte Roval demo laps and wondered what you'd think about an IndyCar race there. Looked like you were seriously hustling.
I was seriously hustling those laps. I only got like 10 minutes. So it was supposed to be a demo run, which could mean 1 lap or 8 laps. I think I ended up doing like 8 laps just because I was just staying out as long as I could until they called me in. Didn't know the track, tried to drive fast without wrecking the car, which would have been very embarrassing. I don't know how an IndyCar race would work around there. I think it'd be okay. I think it actually was a pretty fun track, so I wouldn't be against it. I don't know that it'd be number 1 on my destination. Like, I'd much prefer some iconic IndyCar tracks that are not on the list right now. I'd put those ahead of the Roval, but I think the Roval could be okay. What?
Put a bow on it. For
Boop.
me. Thanks, Reddit.
Thanks, Reddit.
Tune in.
Thanks,
Don't do
Reddit.
it while I'm telling you what to say. Yeah, you can do the Disney.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. You ready? Thank you, Reddit. Boop. There's your bow. Bye. Go. You could use it.
I mean, I think I will.
I like the Reddit people. I do. They're nice. They're a nice group. See ya.